I want to tell you, how many of you are aware of Project Share? Good, most of you.
I'm having difficulty hearing you.
You come up or I'll shout a little bit
Now you
louder.
have to shout.
Did they say there was going to be a microphone too? No.
I can.
They said there might be, but no, it's all right.
I can get one.
Well, I'll try to shout it out a bit louder. But just to give you, I want to give you an update on what's happening with Project Share, particularly during COVID, semi-post-COVID, things like that, to just give you an idea. Our vision, that's really key, nourishing our community and awakening hope. This is what we do in our community. We're in the process of working on our mission statement, but this one really tells you what we do as well. But I'm going to tell you what we're doing. Distribution. So many of you are aware we do a distribution to the community. The people that we do a distribution to have come to 150% of the official poverty level. So we put them through our intake process in our through our client department, and we determine if they fit that category. And if they do, they come to Project Share once a month for our distribution week. And they choose either, they can go through a drive-through. During COVID, we went overnight to a drive-through model. We used to have people come in and walk around, and we have volunteers, maybe some of you even were part of that, handing people a can of corn, a can of this or that, and moving around a big circle in our distribution room. Once COVID started, it was March 2020, it seems like yesterday, it really does, and yet it seems like a long time ago, both. You know? But March, we immediately flipped over to a drive-in mode, drive-through mode, which worked very well. We did that for close to 2 years, and people would drive around our facility into the back, and our teams of volunteers would load their trunk of their car. We did the same thing at our other facility, which I'll tell you about in a moment. In any event, this year we decided to do a mix, and we brought in, we set up like a shopping experience, with a proper shop with racks of food, where people come in by appointment and they go down and they choose what they like. They get a card depending on the size of their family, because in the past we would just load the same amount of food, whether it was one person, two people, or a family of 5, as you're shaking your head. You realize that. But what we've done now is that if you come in, you serve a single person or 2 people in a household, you get a card that says, pick 3 from the orange counter, pick 4 from the green counter. So we have it coded that way, whether it's protein or carbohydrates or fruits or whatever. People are able to go around. On a nutrition side, we also have something called the SWAP method. I don't know if you've heard of that. I think it originated out of Pittsburgh, where everything that we distribute is coded either green, yellow, or red. Red, you can imagine, is the least nutritious, and the one maybe has sugar in it or something like that. And then we have orange, we have green, is the most. We find that since we moved to that method too, we're really conscious of being more nutritious with what we give out to the community. Because it's one thing to dump food on people, but it's another thing to give them food that's going to awaken hope and nourish the community, back to our vision statement. We are now at 81% green and yellow. We're always going to have things that are going to, we all cheat, yeah? Once in a while, am I getting a yes? Okay, but green and yellow are at 81%, which we're really happy about, and we've been continually working to improve that. So once again, we went into what we call your choice method, where they go around and they choose what they want, not just handed what we say they should have. People get to choose now. They really love that method. The other thing we do is farm stand. Now here's where it makes a difference too to people. Because we're not at farm stand, anyone can come to farm stand. You determine that you need to come to farm stand. And at farm stand, which is at 123 Lincoln Street, on Tuesdays and Thursdays during the weeks we don't have distribution, we also have a distribution there. It's all drive-through model right now, but anybody can come to that. So we capture a population called the ALICE population, which is asset limited, people who we used to call it the working poor. okay? People who are making money but not enough to make ends meet. So this has helped them a lot too. It's made a big difference. Education collaboration. Education, we do a program called Kids in the Kitchen, where the kids, during COVID, we were on Zoom with Kids in the Kitchen. And Emma, our nutrition educator, counselor, registered dietitian.
She is a registered
What is it called?
dietitian.
Registered
Yep.
nutrition dietitians?
Yep,
Yes.
registered like a dog. No, I'm
Emma's
just kidding.
fantastic.
Licensed also.
She's a fantastic teacher, and she's with the kids on Zoom during the COVID period, and you see all these little heads in their own kitchens. So they were in their kitchens with their mom or dad or grandma or whatever, and they were preparing the food as Emma was in her kitchen preparing the food together. So we got through COVID that way. And now we have Kids in the Kitchen, live in the kitchen with the kids. We usually have about 18 or so kids that are all lined up. It's a wonderful sight to see all the kids working with her on cooking. And we also have maintained the virtual Kids in the Kitchen. We also have Slice of the Month for adults. We used to call it adult cooking class and nobody came. We call it Slice of the Month. Oh, that's cool. And we got our Slice of the Month. We have about 20 that come to that as well. That's done at Farmstead. Just to give you some ideas, some statistics. In the county, we're somewhere around 11%, 10-11% considered food insecure, which comes to about 24,000 to 27,000 individuals in Cumberland County. 30% of those are children, so it's about 8,000 children in Cumberland County don't have enough nutritious food to maintain. At Project Share, the first quarter we served 1,070 unique families, about 2,198 individuals. Carlisle School District, 41% of the population qualifies for the free or reduced lunch program, which is quite a number. Think about it. This will give you an idea of the families that we served, both the warehouse and farms in the first quarter, 2021 versus 2022. Farm stand only on the left. You'll see how the numbers are rising at farm stand. The warehouse, the main distribution I was talking about, you see how the numbers are dropping, and both dropping as well. Why did it drop in the main distribution? That is where we have people who are earning 150% of the poverty level or less. We had less people that needed that assistance because of SNAP benefits, increased SNAP benefits, stimulus checks, all that sort of stuff. The people that come to Project Share, and I found this to be really amazing how it breaks a stereotype. They are not looking for a handout. They're looking for a hand up. And the proof of that is that when they have sufficient resources, they don't come. They could come and just keep taking, but they're not. That's not what they're about. They come when they need a hand up. It's very moving to me to see that happen, how the numbers drop. It's like, how many of us would say, well, I'm going to get what I can get anyway, just load up. But no, it's like, I don't need the help this month. Or sometimes we'd have people that would go through distribution drive-through, and they'd say, I don't need all of that, I'll give it to some of my neighbors or whatever. And then when we went to the Your Choice distribution, we had people go through Your Choice. It would take just a little bit sometimes. And I'd say, why aren't you taking more? Because I don't need more, maybe somebody else does. So I'm always moved by the good heart that people have that are coming through as well. But so we're feeding more people in the Alice population. At least those numbers have been increasing. But shortly, the SNAP benefits are ending. All that stimulus is ending, and we're anticipating that there's going to be a significant increase coming. So we're anticipating that. So real quick now, I mentioned about our farm stand. There we are, loading the cars. Our Your Choice, when they actually this is Barb Gleim, the representative in the area. She was in that day helping us. There's some other pictures of Kids in the Kitchen and the drive-through with the cars going through. There's Emma. Summer Slump, I mentioned we're doing the 4 sites actually, where we're going to be feeding kids starting on Thursday at Farm Stand and Friday at Plainfield, Mount Holly, and at Project Share's headquarters. we're going to be serving during the, we're not taking federal government help. That's the main thing. I know my time is running out. I'm going to make this real quick. How many of you saw the article in the paper this last week about Project Share rejecting federal money? It was in the Sentinel. The headline, I got to read the headline to you because I love the headline. I didn't send them that headline, but they used it. Project Share opts to forego government subsidies in relaunch of summer feeding program for kids. Pantry forgoes federal funding. What are you, crazy? Why would one do that? Well, because they wanted us to go back to a congregate setting where everybody sat together in a room, where we served about 110 kids a week. During our drive-through model, and that was for 3 days we were able to do it with a program. Through our drive-through model, we're able to serve them with 7 lunches and 7 breakfasts that they take home, and we do that on a Thursday evening and a Friday, and we get out to everybody. We served over 54,000 meals last summer through that method. Previously, we served about 5,000 meals during the summer. So big difference. So we decided if we have to go through that method again, where we also have to count whether or not they swallowed their food, whether they tried it or not, and keep records on all that for the federal government, we decided we're out. We're out. We have faith in community, faith in God. We're going to make this happen. We're going to feed more children and let the chips fall where they may, basically. Not the potato chips. We don't deal with that. The multi-grain chips. Anyway, it gives you, in a nutshell, I'm sure I missed things. And sorry, Bob, if I missed anything. That's to my boss. But just to give you a general idea of what's going on Project Share, my recommendation is you take a newsletter and look at our website, projectsharepa.org. That'll give you an idea of what's going on. And follow us on Facebook, too. I'm always posting things on Facebook about what's going on in Project Share. Put some things up today about people that are working down at Project Share. Thank you for your time.
Did you tell us who you are?
That's a good idea.
Yes.
My name is Joe Kloza, like close the door. And I'm in charge of communications, as I mentioned,
Yes.
and the education.
Thanks.
And I've been there since 2016. And previous to that, I was about 14 years at the Employment Skills Center teaching nurse aid training, GED, English as a second language, you name it, they had me teaching it. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for what you do
Sure.
for the community. That's wonderful.
I will mention too, we have our Gleaning Program where we glean the fields around the area and we bring in, so this food, 40% of the food is wasted, I think, in America. And this way we bring in food that may have been wasted and we distribute that through our various resources, including farm stand and summer feeding. So that might be something we'll look at too. We do that on Monday nights during the summer. We leave at about 5:15, 5:30 from Project Share with individuals and teams. So if anybody's interested in that, you're welcome to join us on that program as well.
Okay, great.
Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Water into the bowel so that our bowel movements will be more comfortable.
The other thing is that it also,
We did
the
talk
other
a
thing
little
is that
bit
it
about,
also,
we did talk a little
probiotics.
bit about probiotics. Fiber is actually a prebiotic.
Fiber
So
is
just like
actually a prebiotic.
If any of you
So
remember
just like
microbiology,
if any of you remember
whenever you're trying
microbiology,
to grow something, you
whenever
have
you're
to have
trying
it
to
on an
grow
agar.
something,
It
you
needs
have to have it on an agar.
It needs a
And
substrate
so
to grow
when
on.
you put probiotics in your body,
when
like
you put
get a high
probiotics in
probiotic
your body,
yogurt,
like you get a high probiotic
it's the same
yogurt.
idea. If you don't have fiber,
It's the same idea.
it's
If
not
you
gonna
don't
have
have
fiber.
It's not gonna have anything.
It's not gonna have to, it's not gonna have anything to do with
populate your bowels so that you have healthy
bowels so that you have healthy
probiotics in there.
The germ is rich in
Probiotics
healthy
in there.
fats. The germ is rich in healthy
B
fats.
vitamins,
Also
vitamin E and
phytochemicals
B
and
vitamins,
antioxidants.
also phytochemicals
So,
and
a phytochemical
So,
just means a
a
plant. Phytochemical just means a
We
plant.
often think about chemicals
as bad.
We often
but there
think
are
about
some,
chemicals as
you know,
bad,
really, but there are some, you know, really,
all of everything.
but, whenever we
But,
are thinking about
whenever
phytochemicals,
we
we're
are
talking about those
thinking
plant
about
chemicals.
phytochemicals, we're
And
talking
all
about
of-
those
a lot
plant
of
chemicals.
these, and
are going to
a
be
lot of
beneficial.
these are going to our bodies. for our bodies.
Endosperm is the inner layer and holds the carbohydrate.
This is
Inner
where we get
layer
the
and holds
energy
the
from.
carbohydrate. This is
So
where we
you
get
do
the
really
energy
kind of
from.
want those
So you
long
do really
chain
kind of want
carbohydrates
those
that are
long
going
chain
to
carbohydrates
stick with
that
us
are
and
going
keep
to
us going
stick
from
with us
breakfast to
and
lunch.
keep us going from breakfast to lunch.
It does give you some small amounts of
It does give you
vitamins,
some
B
small
vitamins
amounts
and minerals
of
as well.
B vitamins and minerals as well.
But
If
Um,
you strip
but
that outer layer and you
if
take
you
away the
strip
germ,
that outer
and you
layer
only
and
use
you
the
take away the
endosperm,
germ and you only
now they
use the
really can't even
endosperm.
legally call it
Now
flour.
they really can't even legally call
Have
it
you ever
flour.
noticed whenever you're looking on
have
the
you ever
ingredient
noticed whenever
list,
you're looking on
the
the
first thing that you'll
ingredients
see is
list,
enriched.
the first thing that you'll see is
flour.
enriched. What
Wheat
that means
flour.
is they have put those
What that means
vitamins
is
and
they
things
have
they've
put
stripped
those
out, vitamins and things they've stripped out.
Okay?
So that they can call
Okay.
it flour. So that they can call it flour.
So bran and fiber help to slow the breakdown of starch
bran and
into
fiber help to
glucose. It
slow the
helps to
breakdown of
maintain
starch
steady
into
blood
glucose. It helps to
levels.
maintain
That's
steady
kind of
blood
important,
glucose
right?
levels.
It also absorbs water in the gut.
It also absorbs water in the gut
and helps you feel
It
full
helps to
longer.
lower cholesterol and moves
It
waste
helps
through
to lower
the digestive
cholesterol
tract.
and moves waste through
And it can
the
help
digestive tract.
prevent small
And it
blood
can help
clots. Prevent small blood
in
clots
the bloodstream.
in the, so it can kind of
bloodstream.
prevent stroke, right? So it
That's a
can
good
kind of
thing.
prevent stroke, right? That's a good
Whole
thing.
grains are listed on the
whole
left-hand
grains
side here.
are
So
listed
bulgur,
on the
buckwheat,
left-hand
oatmeal,
side
wheat
here. So
berries,
bulgur, buckwheat,
popcorn,
oatmeal, wheat berries,
personal favorite.
popcorn,
Amaranth,
favorite.
spelt.
Farro.
Amaranth,
Does anybody
spelt.
know?
Farro.
Anybody eating
Does
any
anybody
farro?
know?
Anybody eating any farro?
Farro looks like a great big barley.
Farro looks like a great big
So,
barley. You know, you can buy
So,
it, usually, you know, you can
where I
buy
have found
it,
it is,
usually,
like, at
where I have
specialty
found it
stores
is
or
like at
on
specialty
Amazon
stores
of all
or.
We found it back
Amazon
on
of all
Zucchini's.
places.
Yeah,
We
once
found
in
it
a
back on
great
Zucchini.
while you'll find it.
Yeah, once in a great
and
while
you
you'll
would just
find
use
it.
the same way that you would
And
use
you would just
barley,
use it the
so
same way that you would
where I
use
mostly
barley,
use
so-
barley is I throw it in
Where
soup.
I mostly use barley is I throw it in
It is
soup.
nice because it freezes.
It is
So
nice
if I'm
because it
making,
freezes them. So if I'm making,
you know,
I don't know, like I actually,
you know,
I don't know, like I
flipped
actually
out,
barley
flipped
for
out potatoes.
barley
and beef stew.
for
And
potatoes
now my
and
family's
like,
like,
beef
oh,
stew.
make that.
And now my family's like,
Because potatoes get grainy and weird, right?
because
When you freeze
potatoes
them.
get grainy and
So
weird,
that
right?
is
When
a
you
way
freeze
that
them.
you could,
So that
be able
is
to
a
cook
way
big
that
vat
you
of
could
something and then
be able to cook a big vat of something and then be able to get it
Hungry
out
if you're
later
one of my
whenever
friends and you get sick.
Hungry if you're one of my
I guarantee
friends and
you'll
you get
get
sick.
nice little.
I guarantee you'll get a nice little bit of soup.
Wild rice. Wild rice is
Is
actually
grass.
grass.
But,
It's also.
it's
I'm not sure
also,
why they're calling it a whole grain.
I'm not sure why they're
Brown
calling
rice
it a whole grain, but
is
brown
going to be
rice
a whole part of
is
the rice.
going to be the whole
A
part
lot
of
of
the
times you
rice.
get enriched
A lot of
white
times
rice,
you get
right?
enriched
So
white
again,
rice,
they've stripped
right?
that bran off.
So again, they've stripped
Um,
that bran off.
The refined grains are going to be de-germed.
The refined
grains are going to be de-germed.
That just means they take the little part that's gonna
That just means
germinate
they
into
take
it,
the little
the
part
plant
that's gonna
out.
germinate into it.
Probably
plant
also some
out.
of the,
Probably also
vitamins
some
and
minerals are lost there.
vitamins
White
and
flour
minerals
and
are
everything
lost
that's
there.
made out of white
White flour
like
and everything
white
that's
bread,
made out of
white
white
pasta,
flour, like
cereals,
white
crackers,
bread,
white
desserts
pasta,
and
cereals,
pastries. Now,
crackers,
the good news is,
desserts and pastries.
they
Now, the
also
good
make,
news is,
all of
they
those
also
foods
make
out of whole grain. All of
you just
those
have to look
foods
for 'em.
out of whole grain.
So that's
You
one
just
of the
have to
things
look
that
for
I
'em.
want you to take home.
So that's
from
one of the
today.
things that I want you to take home from today.
When you're choosing whole grains, when you're
Everybody
choosing
should have
whole
like a little
grains,
food
everybody
label
should
in
have
front
like
of
a little
somewhere.
food label in front of you.
When you're choosing,
Whole
when you're
grains.
choosing, where you're gonna find
Whole
this
grains.
information is you're
Where
gonna
you're
look
gonna find
at
this
the
information is
ingredients
you're gonna
list.
look
So,
at the
Look
ingredients
for your
list.
nutrition
So,
facts label and then
look
look
for
all
your
the way down
nutrition
and
facts
you'll
label
find
and then
the
look all the way
ingredients
down
list.
and you'll find.
Now,
the
in our
ingredients
country,
list.
things
Now,
are
in our
listed
country,
by
things
weight.
are listed
So whatever is
by
most
weight.
in that product,
So
is
whatever
gonna be
is
the first
most
thing
in that
listed.
product is gonna be
And
the
then
first thing
in
listed.
descending order.
And then
further
in
down.
descending order.
So we want our
Further
whole
down.
grains
So
to
we
be
want
as
our
close
whole
to the
grains
top
to
three
be as close to
ingredients.
the
If it's the
top
first one,
three
fabulous.
ingredients. If it's the
If
first
it's
one,
the second one, still good.
If
Third
it's the
one,
second one, still good.
Probably still good,
Third
depends
one,
on how many other.
Probably still good,
Depends
depends
on
on
how
how
many
many
other,
others.
if there's a
foods
bunch
are
of
in
other
that,
stuff, if there's a bunch of
Um,
other stuff.
So, We're looking for the words whole grain. We're looking for the words
Is anybody
whole
finding whole
grain.
grain on their product? Is anybody finding whole grain on their product?
That's your first ingredient. That's your first ingredient.
Okay, see?
Now, I
Okay,
did kind of,
see?
now, I
deck
did
here.
kind of,
Because I knew
we would be talking about
Because I
this, and
knew
so I
that we'd be
picked
talking
products
about
so that
this,
you
and so I
would
picked
see
products
so that
hey,
you
you know, if I'm
would
looking
see,
for a breakfast cereal.
hey, you know, if I'm looking
Maybe
for
I
a
wanna
breakfast
try
cereal,
this.
maybe I wanna
Um,
try
like
this.
this kashi.
So I have some
Like
things in
this
different
kashi.
food
So
groups
I
back
have
there,
some
like
things
for
in different
breakfast,
food groups
things
back
you might
there,
choose
like
for
for
snacks.
breakfast.
And then things that you might use as a
snacks.
side dish. And then things that you
So,
might use as a
um,
side dish.
we're gonna, you know,
So,
after
we're
we're done
gonna,
talking,
you know,
can,
after we're done
you know,
talking,
traverse
you
back there
can,
and I'll try to walk back.
you know, traverse
Talk
back
about
there and
those
I'll try
things
to
a
walk
little
back
bit
more.
more. Talk about those
So
things a
we
little
wanna
bit
try
more.
to choose whole grain bread.
So
we wanna
cereal
try to
and
choose whole grain
pasta
bread
with few other
cereal and
ingredients.
pasta.
The
with
less
few
other stuff it
ingredients.
has in it, the better
The less
off
other stuff it has in
will be
it, the
for our
better
bodies.
off it will be for our
Choosing
bodies.
breads and cereals with a higher fiber
Choosing breads and
content. Now,
cereals
this is
with
a
a
little
higher
trick,
fiber
though.
content.
Now, this is a
3
little
grams
trick,
of fiber
though.
per slice in
3
the bread,
grams
or
of
5
fiber
to
per
6
slice
grams of
in the
fiber
bread,
per
or
serving
5
of
to 6
cereal
grams of fiber per
would be
serving of
about
cereal. Normal.
would be about, so when you're seeing all of these grains
So when
out
you're
there
seeing
that
all
are
of
like,
these grains out
oh,
there.
I have
that
11
are like,
grams of fiber in my
oh, I
tortilla.
have 11 grams of
Okay,
fiber
well,
in
that's
my
fiber that
tortilla.
somebody put in.
Okay, well, that's fiber
Okay,
that
that's
somebody
not
put in.
natural. It didn't come
Okay,
from
that's
the whole
not
grain.
natural. It didn't
So,
come from the whole grain.
keeping it
So,
into perspective.
Keeping it
is
into
just a
perspective
really good way
is
to
just
go
a
about eating.
really good way
Healthy, trying
to go
to
about eating things in balance.
Healthy, trying to
keep
things in balance.
When you go whole hog
Um,
on anything,
When you go whole
it's
hog
usually
on
too much.
anything, so
it's usually
you
too
can get
much.
too much fiber. So you can get too much
get too
fiber.
little fiber.
You really want to
You
be
get too
somewhere
little fiber.
about where you
You
need.
really want to be somewhere
So,
about where you need.
Try
So,
to choose 2
um,
servings each day. Try to choose 2
that
servings
could
each
be
day.
a slice of bread,
That could be a
3/4 of a
slice
cup
of
of
bread,
unsweetened cereal, or
3/4 of a cup of unsweetened cereal, or 1/3 of a cup of pasta.
Yeah, sure.
When you said about,
Yeah,
if
sure.
it has more, fiber than would naturally be in there, is that fiber than would naturally be in there, is that a part of the, if fiber is not a natural part of the, like if they
Well,
add
so-
wood chips to the bread, like if they add
Well,
wood
so-
chips to
yeah.
the bread, is that bad? High fiber,
Well, yeah.
is that bad?
Well,
It may actually hinder the
it may
absorption of
actually
some of your
hinder the
macronutrients.
absorption of
So,
some of your
yeah, it could be bad.
micronutrients. So, yeah,
for
it could be bad.
example,
For a man
example,
needs
um,
between 28
a man
and 36
needs
grams of
between
fiber a
28
day.
and 36 grams of fiber a
Right.
day.
Most Americans eat about
Right.
9 grams.
Most
of
Americans
fiber
eat about
per day.
9 grams of fiber.
So, for a woman,
So,
we're looking at
for a woman,
something more
we're
like
looking
about
at something
28
more
20
like
to 28
about
grams of
28,
fiber is a
20 to
good
28
amount.
grams of fiber.
And that's
is a good
assuming that the
amount.
women are
And that's
actually
assuming
smaller
that
in
the
size than
women
the men.
are
So,
actually smaller in
you know,
size than the men.
it
So,
is individual,
you know,
but, you know, whenever we
it
make
is
health
individual,
statements,
but, you know, whenever we make
look
health
at
statements,
the
we
look
chop
at
off
the
the
outliers,
we
chop
make our
off the
recommendations
outliers.
towards the middle.
So I don't know how fibrous things like, so I don't know how fibrous things like, but if someone were
Celery,
eating a bunch
or
of celery,
but if
that
someone
could
were
be
eating
too
a
much
bunch
fiber.
of celery,
That could be too much.
Yeah, it
fiber,
can,
that
it can,
would be
it
bad.
can hinder
Yeah, it can,
mineral
it can
absorption, especially.
hinder mineral absorption,
Folic acid
especially.
is hindered by
Folic
too much
acid
fiber.
is hindered by
So,
too
you
much
know,
fiber.
I used
So,
to,
you know,
like, kind of,
I
have a
used
big
to,
I
like,
think I
kind
really
of
should have been a
have a big
cartoon. Because, like, a lot of times you can kind of see my brain going. Like, whenever they, what is that cereal that they say has 100% of whatever vitamins and minerals, and it says 100% of folic acid? It'll come to me if I don't think about it. But anyway, it's a flake cereal, and I think it's probably by Post or somebody. And they say, well, it has 100% of folic acid, but it's also high fiber. So then I think, well, how much folic acid are you really getting if you're having that much fiber? Because fiber hinders folic acid from being absorbed.
This stuff says 22 grams of fiber in a serving. So it's
Yeah.
already,
Is it 22 grams of
that's
fiber?
what it says. Oh, no, of whole grains, I'm sorry.
Oh, of whole grains. Yeah, so that's the tricky part. So,
Yeah.
yeah, 22 grams of whole grain, that would be a weight. So there's 22 grams out of 50 grams will be fiber. I don't find this to be useful. I always look here. So the dietary fiber in this product is 3 grams. So if you look on your nutrition facts label on your product that you have there, and you look at the serving size, and then you scroll down to the total carbohydrate, and then just under there, it's gonna tell you the dietary fiber in that serving of that food. Okay, in one portion. Because this whole nutrition facts label is referring just to one serving of that food. So if, for example, you get a Sheets cookie because you're traveling or something, and you get that Sheets cookie and it's like this big, and you think, oh, well, I'm gonna get coffee, maybe I'll get a cookie. Like, I'm talking about myself, so. I ate the cookie, and then the wrapper, of course, was in my car the next day, and I picked up the wrapper, and I thought, oh, there's a nutrition facts label. And so I looked at it, and at first, it said it was like 120 calories. And I'm thinking, that's a really big cookie for 120 calories.
Per serving.
So it was per serving, and guess how many servings that one cookie was? It was 3 servings. So I ate 360 calories worth of cookie. And, you know, I mean, I washed it down with coffee with some sugar creamer. And so, you know, I didn't do a great job that night. But I had a 5-hour trip, so, you know, I guess it was all right.
You needed the sugar to keep going.
Yeah, I did. I needed the sugar and the caffeine, because usually when I travel, it's like after I work all day, and so, you know, on 80, you kind of want to be alert. So anyway, it really matters what the serving size is.
By the way, Special K, I think, is the way that you.
I think you're right, yeah, Special K. So it says it's 100% of your folic acid, and it promises all this other stuff. But really,
How much are you actually getting?
I don't know how much you're absorbing. So if there's 100% there, and it's not able to get it in there, then should you be finding some other folic acid later in the day? Well, I hope you do, because it's mostly found in your like beans, and you're gonna find it in romaine lettuce, and you're gonna find it in broccoli. Yeah, there's a lot of places to find it, mostly dark leafy greens. So one of the questions that I was asked when I came here was to talk a little bit with you about, you know, how do whole grains help you to, you know, improve your nutrition, okay? So you may notice that there's a little page here on your, it's just black and white, I'm sorry, I didn't have a pretty color printer. And so, you know, really, these are some of the things that we're finding with research, that whole grains are linked with less inflammation. So do you know what diseases are a result of inflammation in our body? Anybody?
Ulcerative colitis?
Oh, well, you know, I can't argue with that, but that's not one that a lot of people have. I was really going for one of the top 3. The top 3 that kill Americans are heart disease, right? And diabetes, yes, diabetes, and cancer. Those are the top 3 in America. Those are the things we die from.
Say that again, which one?
Cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. They're all inflammatory processes. And so if we can eat more whole grains, we're fighting that at a cellular level inside our very own universe, which is our body. Which is fabulous, right? It's something so simple to do. Greater servings of whole grains at breakfast are significantly related to higher scores in reading comprehension, fluency, and math. So that's what we want with our kids, right? That's what we should be promoting at breakfast. Fiber from whole grains is thought to be the most protective type of fiber against type 2 diabetes. For every additional 10 grams of total fiber or cereal fiber, the fiber in whole grains, the risk of type 2 diabetes is 9% to 25% lower. That's remarkable, right? This is from a loaf of bread, people.
Yeah.
Wow! Who knew? Whole grains help improve gut bacteria because they provide that substrate or that toehold for them to live on. That's what they need in there. So it's great that you're eating probiotic yogurt, but if you're gonna not eat whole grains, there's not gonna be stuff in there for that probiotic to live on. We want it to push out the bad bacteria. Those eating the most whole grains have a lower BMI and waist circumference. So remember I said about it fills you up, right? It takes longer to digest. Holds water, makes you feel full. So probably it leads to less overeating. So if you can eat whole grains with each meal, it's going to be more satisfying. Those eating the most whole grains had a 14% lower risk of stroke. Stroke is one of the things that I really do not want. Because I have a list of things I don't want to happen to me. And that is one of them. And with COVID, stroke is a side effect of COVID. I mean, people were getting clots all over their body. The lung issues were related to clotting. So, you know, making sure that you're eating whole grains, it's protecting you from all kinds of bad stuff. So we definitely want to do that. Increasing whole grain food intake by 3 servings is linked to a 19 to 22% lower risk of heart disease. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to apply this information, and I want you to do it today. I'd like you to go home, and whatever is on your plate for dinner, I'd like you to choose one thing, just one thing, that's all you have to do. 1 serving of whole grains. So do you think that you could choose whole grain bread, or a whole grain cereal, or a whole grain granola at breakfast? How many people think they could do that?
I'm a vegetarian.
Oh, good. Okay, we can talk more. So that's something simple that we can do. That's how to apply it. So it's important to know the information, but it's more important to see how we can do it. Okay? So does anybody want to tell me what they had for lunch today? Oh my heavens, okay. What'd you have for lunch today?
I made a really bad garlic Alfredo.
Okay, so it didn't even taste good?
I thought it tasted fine. She hated it.
Okay.
I added too much lemon juice.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm eating it now.
Yeah, I don't think Alfredo requires lemon juice.
I added about 2 heads of garlic.
Oh, yeah, garlic. Garlic's good. It has a particular thing, it's called allium, and it's a phytochemical. Good for you, helps protect it against cancer and vampires. Woohoo! So, how could you have done that maybe differently based on some of the information we talked about today?
I could have added quinoa to it.
Sure. What's another thing that's like more obvious?
I actually had used whole wheat pasta.
Oh, see,
And
you
she
did
put
that,
broccoli in
good.
it too. Well, there you go.
And broccoli,
Yes.
okay, see, so actually, you get an A for today. Anybody else?
I had tabbouleh with bulgur
Wow,
and hard-boiled egg
fabulous.
and half a banana with peanut butter.
Okay, you know what, that is a really nice balanced diet, and I love that you're trying these other types of greens too. So you're really expanding. Maybe that's how you eat all the time, but wow, really good.
I had a handful of nuts,
Handful of nuts, that was your,
mixed nuts.
so where was your grain?
That was not.
Oh, okay. So what could you have done maybe with that?
Eating a cracker with it.
Yeah, of course, something simple. It wouldn't even have to be that big of a deal. Just a handful of Triscuits or thin wheats or, yeah, that would have been good. Okay, maybe a fruit to round it out.
No, I'll just share because I worked at helping at the U-turn from 8 to 12.
Yes, right.
So I thought, how am I going to eat something? And here Chick-fil-A people brought in food, and I thought, well, what am I going to do? And he had 3 vegetarian wraps sitting there.
Super.
For the vegetarian, yeah, and
I love that.
I never had one, I ate only half because it's pretty big. So I was shocked because I've never even been through Chick-fil-A because I just assumed
Yeah, you thought it was all chicken.
all chicken, but
Yeah.
I was wondering why there were long lines. But, you know, it had beans and corn and spinach and it was fairly, it
Decent.
looked really
Yeah.
healthy. I mean,
Yeah, it sounds
really good.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Awesome. I like it. That's really,
yeah,
That's
there's a
great.
plug for
So,
Chick-fil-A.
yeah, well, I mean,
Who knew?
I think that that is a good example of how you can make a healthy choice, even if you're rushed. So I like that. That was really good. So you guys are all like pretty nutritious. You're thinking about it. I like that.
Chick-fil-A, but Chipotle, that was great.
Oh, and Chipotle, yeah, you can find some healthy choices there. I love those bowls. We can talk more about that. Anytime, so a vegetarian, we often think about, oh gee, how do they get their protein? But anytime you choose a grain, preferably whole grain, you are getting all of the essential amino acids. So there's like 9 essential amino acids, right? And so that means our body can't produce those amino acids. There are components or building blocks for proteins and enzymes and all the things our body has to do. So we want to get those essential amino acids each day because our body can't really store protein. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to eat some protein, which could come from animal sources, or if you combine the whole grains and a serving of beans or lentils or nuts, now you're getting the lysine comes from the whole grains and the methionine comes from the beans, and when you put them together, guess what? Now you have all 9 essential amino acids. So you could never eat meat again and still do completely fine. I will also tell you that it is so much cheaper. So I don't know if any of you are starting to be pinched by all of these things going up, like the prices are going crazy. I went out to buy just plain old stew meat. Like, this is not quality meat. And I ended up paying $21.
For what?
For stew cubes. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
That's outrageous. So you know what I'm doing? I'm doing a plant-based meal 2 times a week. And then, it sort of offsets the cost for me. And I'm doing meat more as a flavoring and not as my main meal. So there are some different things that you can do that will actually be good for your pocketbook and your body at the same time. So I like that. Patients who are on statins. So statins, if you can also eat 1 serving of whole grain per day, their non-HDL cholesterol, or their combination of LDL and VLDL, which is your bad cholesterol, can get lower by 11 points. That's incredible. That's a really, 1 piece of bread or 1 grain can do that for you. So I really, really hope that you will consider that.
What about eating oatmeal cookies?
Okay. So an oatmeal cookie is still good if it still has the whole oats in it. The sugar that you use for it, now sugar increases triglyceride levels. So would I want you to make a steady diet of oatmeal cookies? Probably not. But can it fit? Absolutely. I love a good oatmeal cookie. I can rationalize that like nobody's business. So I get an oatmeal raisin cookie because then there's a little iron. So, but I would only eat that occasionally.
I have a question. So do you have a statistic on patients who aren't on statins? What the bad cholesterol and like the same?
I think that you would still get probably a similar percentage, but probably lower, is my guess. Maybe 7. Probably half of that. Statins are really powerful. Actually, My understanding is that they are derived from whole grain. But I could be completely wrong, so I think I read that somewhere. I read a lot, so sometimes it's hard for me to get back to where I found that. I highlight everything and stuff it in my drawer. Yeah.
Is all white flour fortified, I mean, by law, or?
Well, they enrich it, is what,
Enrich it.
yeah, so basically, the stuff was in there, they took it out, now they have to put it back so that they can call it, yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's a law that they have to do.
yeah.
So if you're going to a bakery that doesn't have labels, would you assume that their flour was?
Yeah, if it's called flour, which probably it is, then it would be enriched. Yeah, at least with the basic stuff that was there before. Not necessarily all the fiber though, just the vitamins and minerals. So, there was, oh shoot, I don't have those here. You know the Fiber One bars? They use a particular fiber. I think it's chicory root, I want to say. So that's what is the first ingredient on a Fiber One bar is chicory root. Not something we would normally be eating, right? I'm not saying they're bad for you, but you know, some people get real gassy from that.
Is that the same chicory that we see along the roadside?
Probably, yeah.
Corn
Cheap?
flour?
Can we make more? Yeah. Yeah, probably is. But they probably grow it like on purpose and harvest it and all that kind of stuff. So those are some really great things. And then I do like to pull out this cancer risk. So you can reduce, if you eat 3 servings of whole grains, which is what I'm suggesting today, it reduces the risk of colorectal cancer by 17%. Just 3 servings a day, that's hardly any. You're also getting vitamin E, you're getting your phytoestrogens, you're getting zinc, selenium, copper. You get resistant starch, which means that it's going to take longer to break down, it's going to keep your blood glucose steady. You're getting antioxidants and you're getting lignans from whole grains. So I think that a lot of, it's not just colon cancer though, it's all cancer because it's anti-inflammatory. Okay. So that's a kind of a big deal. So how to add more grains? Let's just take it one meal at a time. Choose one item per meal. And if you can do that, you know, now you have your 3, you're meeting the risk criteria, right? You're reducing your risk. And you're going to be more healthy. And it may help your immune system as well because now you have a substrate for the probiotics that you're eating in your yogurt. And popcorn is also a whole grain. Corn, which a lot of people are like, oh, don't eat corn, time out. Corn is a whole grain. I'm okay with corn. Whole kernel corn is good for you. The outside shells are not digestible. People think that they don't digest it at all. The starchy part for sure we digest. Experiment with different grains. I did give you a little whole grain cooking tip. So if you do want to experiment with some grains that you're not used to, some of the more odd type grains require you to soak them overnight, or sometimes they take longer to cook. If you've ever done brown rice and you're not familiar with it, it doesn't get done in just 20 minutes. It's more like 30. So it still tastes basically the same, and it's definitely healthy for you.
It's the same as what?
The same as white.
Tastes much better than
Okay. Well, see, I'm used to convincing people to do it. So I'm not used to people that are already on board.
better flavor.
Yeah, and actually, that's how I feel like. If I eat white bread, I'm so disappointed. I just don't like it. But rye bread is still a whole grain. So a lot of people didn't know that. Or oat bread. So those are some really good options to get more things in. So just choosing a whole grain over a refined item when you're selecting breads, buns, bagels, tortillas, pastas, and other grains.
What about
That's how it's gonna
gluten-free?
Okay. So people who need gluten-free, literally their body doesn't digest it. So they get a diagnosis of celiac. So if you do not have celiac disease, you do not need to avoid wheat. It's really wheat primarily. There is cross-contamination because like when I talked about post-cereal, you know, they're making all different kinds of cereal. So sometimes if you get oats that are made in that factory, it will say on the back if, you know, that it was, there could be cross-contamination. If it says gluten-free, they have really drilled down on this and they independently test. So if it says it's gluten-free, you can usually count on it being gluten-free. Because people have such dire problems. Some people actually have to have sections of their colon removed. So that's not ideal from cross-contamination. Any other questions? You guys have been a great group. You're almost as excited about nutrition as I am, and I love that. And you do all kinds of great stuff, so I'm preaching to the choir, really. Right? Yeah, ma'am.
I know with my daughter, when I was growing up, my grandmother had Spam,
Oh, yeah.
and then she had corn and potatoes and peas. But what I've done is add green beans and something like oregano or parsley as well, besides garlic or onion leaves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. The more stuff you add, the better it is.
Oh,
Right?
and also add carrots to it too.
Good, I like it.
I got 2 questions.
Okay,
First one, sprouted wheat.
okay,
Does that count as a whole grain?
yeah.
Okay.
So basically, remember I talked about that germ on one of the first pages there? So the germ, that would actually sprout into the plant. So what they're doing is they are probably adding a little bit of water to it. They keep it in a space that, you know, is warm and all that, so moisture and warm. And then it will just like sprout out a little something. And then they take that and grind it up. So that's what it is for sprouted grain. I'm not 100% sure of the benefit of that. I would have to look it up. It may have more folic acid. I don't really know for sure, to be honest. That was a good question. Stump the dietitian. I like it. So that was one question. What else did you have?
My second question is, I know historically refined grains were preferred because it was a status symbol, especially in like East Asia, Japan. For a while had a long history of their Navy actually having, a lot of people wanted to join their Navy because white rice was provided as part of the diet, white rice being a status symbol at the time. And they had essentially vitamin B deficiencies. I was wondering if there was any other reason that refined grains became preferred.
I think, you know, like basically it's manufacturing and, you know, like honestly, it's hard to keep up with all the new foods that are coming out. So it was part of the Industrial Revolution. You know, we decided, oh, hey, you know, what if we soak this grain and then we roll it in these rollers? What happens? And then dry it. Oh, it turns into a flake. Well, when you go to other countries, they don't serve that food. That's an American thing. We eat flakes, but other countries do not. So it was just the fact that we could, I think. And, you know, people like that little light crunch and I don't know, then you spray it with sugar, it tastes really great.
But in regard to white flour, isn't it also generally finer and smoother grain so people could get a more uniform, fine texture? It was just-
Yeah, I suppose that is true, and certainly with baking,
Yeah,
okay?
yes, and I think that was
So-
the deal with white flour.
Yeah, so, you know, like, you're not gonna wanna make,
You're not gonna want
pastry
two
out of whole
recipes.
grain. You're gonna wanna make it out of like a white grain.